like, oh, tell me this stuff, and then I can finally be free, and then maybe she can leave, right? But then again, though, makes it sound like she almost knows he's dying too, right? And because Roosevelt had, I suppose, right, Roosevelt had the other true gospel that she has, right? They one of the true gospels. And he's like, Subaru, he can probably die or something. He seems to also know that he's, going back and forth, right? Because he was like, next life, please don't die, right? please save me next life. It's kind of like, he was kind of saying, he's implying that, next attempt, please do it better, right? So, he seems to know, right? She probably knows, right? It's the same book, right? It tells you the truth of the path or whatever. She probably knows too, right? So, if it's like, it kind of feels like, I think so, definitely, that both with Roosevelt and with her, with Beatrice, they both seem to be aware of the last conversation. She's like, oh yes, last time we were here, we discussed this thing. Like, like she remembers the last time he was there and died, right? With Elsa. That's kind of how I take it, at least. That she kind of like, yes, this time, let's do this thing instead. But yeah, we're kind of reviewing it now, I guess. But let's review it. But we're kind of reviewing it now, right? So, okay, Garfield is also apparently drinking the tea. But there's a good point, though. There was a point to drink the tea. There was a point to drink the tea. You drink the tea to get the girl. Yeah? If you drink Kina's body fluid tea, you get the power of little Baba. You get the Baba power. But anyway, let's go to the first thing, of course, I'm talking about, which is nothing other right than, of course, Emilia crying. Come on. I said it last week. I've been saying it for years, right? Again, right, I'm only an anime only watcher, right? So my theory, of course, is based on the anime. I'm not basing the theories on anything else, right? And that's been an anime and also the OVA, I suppose. But I said it last week, right? Is Emilia actually Satella, right? With the whole I love you and so on, right? But I think it makes sense, right? I think it makes sense that she would be like, why does Satella love him? Well, if she's Emilia, then it kind of is it's self-explained, right? That she loves him and so on, because we kind of knows it already. And the way I argue for that, right, the main argument I have, they would be the same person, not just being the same, elf look-alike, right? The main argument, I think, is that, okay, so first of all, what is the power Subaru has? It's time travel, right? Time travel, right? Or reverse reality, whatever, right? But it's basically there on time, right? He can go back in time, right? Every time he dies, right? Okay. So he has time travel, okay. So that has the Satella, as the witch, has time powers, right? Because she is the one doing the reverse time with him, right? So we already know that she has time powers, right? Okay, I think that makes sense, right? Satella has time powers. We already know that from the beginning, right? And then, of course, if Emilia then is Satella, right, and she has time traveled back, right? Why not, right? Because again, we know that Satella has time powers. We know that people have time powers, right? I think it makes perfect sense. And also that, as I mentioned last week, we have the whole gospel. Roosevelt has the gospel, Beatrice has the gospel, right? They can give you the future sight kind of thing. How would anyone have perfect future sight? Well, it would be because someone has actually lived through, of course, reality, right? And they've written down what's going to happen, right? So if Emilia, of course, has lived through it, right? Written down what's going to happen in reality, in the future, right? Because she actually was part of it, right? And back in time, you can leave the book in the past, right? Telling you the future, right? But I think it's just like, even Subaru is, he's when he awakes, right, in the next life again, he's looking at Emilia. It's like, oh, it can't be her, but maybe this, right? He's afraid that it's her, right? And he's like, I'm gonna save you at this moment. Right? I'm gonna save you, right? Again, to me, it really feels like it's supposed to be the same character. I don't see people are defending and say, or like counter arguing saying that no, they just look exactly the same because they're both elves or something. But yeah, come on, but they look exactly the same. Have you ever seen any other, anime or game where right? They have different elves. You can have many different elves, right? It's always like, well, yeah, they look very similar, but they look almost exactly the same. And they have the same voice actor, right? It's the same voice, and but yeah, next episode probably gonna be really crazier. But I think this, again, for me, the main part of the episode really is that, at least in my opinion, Emilia really looks to be Satella, right? I said it last week and here again. He removes her cloak, right? And Subaru even says again, then he says that it's like, I'm gonna save you, Emilia. I'm gonna save you, right? More than saying that, oh no, I will save you, I love you. Yeah, so yeah, I have a very hard time seeing how she would not be Emilia in a future version of Emilia, right? That's the big thing, right? For me again, because it's a theory I had, since season 1, right? It's a theory I have had since season 1 that she would be the same person, right? Emilia and Satella. And then we see the open decision, right? We then kind of doing the same hug thing, and we see the episode 1 and 2 here, right? But yeah, so I think it definitely. Anyway, let's talk about the clone factory. I was surprised that it wasn't her, for that matter. But one thing I want to say, as I mentioned earlier during the reaction, is that if you look at, here it is, if you look at this scene, right? Yeah, every week definitely feels like forever, but if you look at this scene here, this is very interesting too, because so to open the clone factory, Subaru uses, of course, you know, the pedestal, kind of the necklace thing, right? The actual, you know, crystal that they got from Federica, and the whole thing there, right? Yeah. And this thing, to me, looks to be exactly the same thing, right? As Emilia has with the puck thing, right? So puck, but it's green though, yeah. So I mean, it's blue and green. But this is, as he saw in the memory there, this is, you know, like a key, right, to open this factory. So I'm thinking that Emilia's green thing is also a key to open something else. Perhaps maybe it's going to be important to open up something here at Sanctuary, but given that Emilia is at least something connected to, of course, Satella, it might be like Satella's factory might be able to open up with her key, right? Something like that. But I think definitely, yeah, that this key thing seems very interesting. That it's like an actual key, not just like an, you know, it's both a key to the sanctuary thing and a key inside the sanctuary. It's like a double key, right? And of course, again, why does Emilia has her own green one? It's very like fishy, right? It has to be something connected, but probably then to the other witch, right? But anyway, yeah. So they get in here, right? He meets all the. Well, the hand is probably Subaru, right? Subaru is wiping off tears because he's like he thinks it's Emilia, right? That's why he's doing that thing. I was thinking though, I do think then you know, it's interesting. He gets the clone thing, and my general thing, right? Why he gets the clones is this thing. He's gonna beat the Brabbies. I said earlier, but I think he gets the clones, this clone army, because Subaru, he's like he heard last episode that the Brabbies, right, are defeated by they can, like, they're tracking mana, and the clones are you know, the clones are constructed by mana, so that's material. Yeah, definitely material. That the clones are gonna, you know, be how he can lure the rabbits, right? Obviously, the rabbits are later gonna be, you know, lured by, you know, a high mana pool, right? So you get a lot of those clones together, the rabbits will probably get there, right? And then there are a lot of clone versus rabbits, right? So yeah, I think that's like a no-brainer, honestly. I think it's a no-brainer, yeah, definitely. The Echidna clone factory versus the rabbits. That to me is like how this is gonna go on. But anyway, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, definitely. I mean, Witch of Envy is Tala exactly like Emilia. We really knew that kinda, but it really is confirmed now. And I think again, they're the same person, right? Time traveling. I think it's just time traveling. And that's why he wiped. Look at his face. It's an evil witch. No, but come on, like, she's gonna be the same person. I'm gonna keep saying it because I feel so confident in that. But no, I don't know for sure, right? But it just seems that even last week I felt that they're probably the same person, right? It's all about I love you, Subaru, I love you, and so on. It just seems really weird, right? And now here, she even stands here, and I think it's an important note too, that Subaru is like, oh, you like a nice fairy, right? Oh, you look so beautiful in this thing. And Emilia's like, oh, don't call me evil. That's like an insult. Yeah, don't insult my appearance, right? It's like, oh no, but in my culture, that's a good thing, right? So even, it's like a hint to that too, right? That he's calling her evil, right? And she's like, I'm not evil, no, so it's like, I'm not saying that she's evil though. But as Subaru said there, when he kind of wake up too, right? He's like, I will save you, right? And that can also be, read as he's gonna save her from, turning into the witch, right? In a sense, right? I'm gonna change the future, right? No, but I think it's so. I'm not gonna say it's 100% right, but I think it seems incredibly likely. I think so. I think everything points to them being the same person. And this scene here, to me, definitely also hinted to that. Of course, it could be a red herring, right? It could be a red herring, right? Or just like, trying to fool us, right? But really, definitely, he's like calling her evil, by her, like, oh, I'm not evil, yeah. Like, that thing also felt like, okay, this is even more on that. He thinks she's a Satella, right? It's that that calls her evil, so I think it builds up on that even more, right? Most definitely. I mean, I said even last week, and I said it, last season, I was like, it seems to be the same person. I think, especially, I say it again here before I go to the next important episode, but I think especially because, again, right, they have time travel, right? And I've seen, the Flash, and I've seen other kind of, shows with time travel. Separately in the Flash, it feels like every second bad guy is him. If you ever seen the Flash, I won't spoil too much, but in the Flash, to no surprise, a lot of the bad guys is the Flash from the future or the past, because of time travel all the time. And one of the bad guys, he's the same bad guy that's reappeared like 20 different times because he wants to die in time traveling, alternative futures and so on. Yeah, so a lot of the bad guys are the same people too, that reoccurs, but with different time sets, right? It's like, Jesus Christ. That's overkill on time travel, right? But of course, it is quite, when you have an anime with time travel, like we know they have time travel with anime, that's a main thing, right? When you have an anime with time travel, you are going to have those moments where you have to wonder that, well, isn't she the same person who's time traveling because they have time travel? Like, it's also, the windows are open for time travel. But anyway, let's talk about the ending. I don't know, yeah, they get to the mansion, right? And as I mentioned during the end's reaction there, what I think is going to happen with the Byaku, right? With Byaku, is that Subaru is going to set them free, I guess, right? If it really feels like his only way, I think, to win against the evil, Bowel Hunter Elsa is to use Byaku, right? Because he gets there now, and he has no ram with him, didn't bring anyone else, didn't bring, clone army of little, little explosive clone girl, yeah, Babas, yeah, that was kind of, yeah. He's just going alone, right, this time. And so the odds are against him, right? But of course, we know that Bruce was like, tell her this thing, trigger Byaku to help you, so he has some kind of keyword, right, for Byaku, and that feels to me that that's gonna be the thing, right? And I think that when it says that, I guess you can leave the library, probably, and I guess you're gonna fight them, right? Probably, have some badass magic fight against Elsa, probably. So that's probably the next episode, right? Probably badass and kind of, yeah, Byaku versus Elsa. That's probably what happened. That's my guess at least. And one thing that I mentioned earlier too, once again here, is that to me though, both with Rosal and her, right, as I mentioned earlier, it really seems that they know that he's, Lafayette Kid now, that she knows the truth. Like, oh, but you can time travel, can you back in time? Because Rosal is weirdly how it's every time we talk to Rosal, he's like, oh, yes, he kind of like keeps going the last conversation, right? They kind of like, last time you were here, so let's go on. Yeah, they doesn't really start with him. And now when they entered Byaku's place, she's like, oh, yes, so this time we're gonna discuss this thing, right? So yeah, so and Byaku did the same thing. She was like, oh yes, this time when we talk, we can prolong my freedom. So it was kind of like she knew that, yes, we talked last week, and we, but of course she shouldn't know that, right? She shouldn't know that because it's supposed to be, but it really felt like she actually remembered, right, the last event, right? And that could be because she has the true gospel, right? Because she can see them in the future or whatever. She knows actually it's happening. That could be a thing, right? Maybe her and Roosevelt, because they have the true gospels, something like that, they are immune to the alternate reality, right? The time reality. Maybe you're like, oh, I know what's happening because I read the gospels. I know how we're gonna flow, right? Something like that. But to me, at least the fact that she actually remembered the last incident, right, with Elsa and Subaru. That's my guess, at least, that she actually knows what's happening. And you have to remember the last time she was like, Ningen! So she's not a human either, right? She has a kind of magical thing, right? She might also be a pure mana construct, right? She's not a normal human, right? So, something else, right? But yeah, I look for next episode, seeing what... Next episode is probably going to explain a lot of Beatrice is, right? It's probably going to explain a lot more on what she actually, why she can't leave or whatever, right? Or what her goal is and so on. And then she can see the future and why she's like following these things and so on, right? But yeah, I think generally she's gonna probably be able to leave, right, next episode and be like a fight with Elsa. And the season is probably gonna end, right? It's like one soon ending here, right? It's probably gonna be like an end fight to defeat Elsa and the Mabi's controller, and that's probably the end of the season, I think. With some cliffhanger, of course, with like Emilia being evil or something like that, right? But anyways, that's a zero. Tomorrow do more live stream, personal lives in time, it'll be fun, except for that. Of course on Friday we're doing like Usaka-chan and our girlfriend and so on. See you guys and have a great